Welcome back to GAA Fan TV. I'm delighted to be joined here by former Kerry footballer Liam Brosnan for the 2023 Inter-County Kerry season preview. We're going to be discussing all things Kerry ahead of the upcoming Championship and League season. We'll be looking back at last year's season for Kerry, which was obviously a historic All-Ireland win from a Kerry perspective. And then obviously looking ahead to this year as well. I suppose, first of all, Liam, how was things with yourself? Obviously a great year last year, so I suppose as a Kerry fan, I'm sure you're looking forward to another year in 2023.
Yeah, Aaron, and Happy New Year too. Yeah, we're smiling down here in Kerry after the fantastic win last year, and I suppose especially then after yesterday we have our two clubs after winning two All-Irelands as well as club football. So everything is good down here at the moment, but I suppose we're down at the bottom of the mountain now again. Starting all over. So yeah, we're looking forward to it. You know, every the start of every year, there's always plenty of questions and debates and the whole lot. And yeah, and I think that adds to the fun of it.
Absolutely, yeah. Like and obviously you mentioned some of the games at the weekend. Like maybe just looking at them briefly, or Kerry club football in general. Obviously a very good season for Kerry club football. Obviously with Fossa winning the All-Ireland at junior level. You obviously had Rathmore, who won the intermediate All-Irelands. Cairns O'Rahilly's obviously narrowly beaten by Kilmacud Crokes, who I think are most people's favourites at senior level. So I suppose a very good club season from a Kerry perspective.
Yeah, look, club football down here, Aaron, is very competitive, no matter what division or what level you're at. And that's all credit due to the clubs and the whole lot, because there is huge effort being put in. I suppose, look, there's a lot of tradition down here as well, and everyone wants to wear the green and gold. But we have this debate in as well that the Kerry clubs are at the wrong level when it gets out into Munster and but I don't think that's a Kerry problem, Aaron. I think that's other counties' problems. Look, our club football at senior, junior, intermediate, novice is very, very strong down here, and I think, look, like we've spoken before about the senior stage down here. I know we have 8 senior teams, but that senior competition, I found now in the last 2 years, has been extremely competitive. For years before that, I was often going to club championship games, and they weren't as they were kind of dead, because look, everyone kind of knew who was going to be going down and who was going to be getting to the final. But with 8 teams now, very competitive. Intermediate, probably one of the most competitive competitions you could ever come across, to be honest. There's 7 or 8 teams that could win it down here any given year, and it's the same at junior level. So my argument to that would be it'd be a case of, look, every other county can look at what Kerry are doing, and we're very competitive down here at club level. So maybe they should look at our thing instead of trying to weaken us.
Yeah, maybe so. Because there does always seem to be plenty of argument about the structure of the Kerry Club Championship, and maybe with the fact that obviously you have the Club Championship and then obviously the County Championship as well. Like, and obviously, as you said, 8 teams at senior level, and then 8 teams at intermediate level as well, I think, is it?
There's a few more on intermediate level, yeah. There's about 12, I think 12 or 13 in intermediate level. So it's but like that, it's a case of, like I said, what I found before they reduced the senior level, especially, that the competitiveness went after a game or two, because teams, say it like Boston Stacks, who were relegated out of the county championship this year, but they were our county champions last year. The year before, Dr. Crokes were in the relegation playoff. So it just shows that the effort that has to be put in, and it's pushing players and pushing clubs, to strive for better at every game. Whereas now you can't take your leg off the accelerator, or you could be in trouble very quick.
Yeah, and obviously with Fossa winning the All Ireland Junior club title, I think there was a sort of a big interest for most of the country probably in a junior All Ireland club final, maybe more than most, because of obviously the Cliffords playing, and in particular David Clifford. And I mean, an extraordinary year from him. He obviously hits 11 points in the final, wins an All Ireland with his club now. He obviously won an All Ireland at inter-county level last year. I mean, it's been an extraordinary year from David Clifford's point of view.
Yeah, it's been a season like no other for any kind of a footballer. And I mean, David Clifford is just unreal. And look, the plaudits keep coming and the awards keep coming, and it's well deserved, because besides his football side of it, he's a gentleman off the field. You can see him from his interviews there. He's a very assuming young man, coming from a real stock GAA family. So I'm delighted for him. And look, I had the pleasure of working with David for a couple of years at development squad level and college level with Tralee IT that time. And David Clifford was looking at me the same way he'd be looking at Jack O'Connor. It didn't matter who he'd be listening to. He was always taking little nuggets from everyone, and that's a sign of a very good footballer. And I think it's a sign for young players out there to know that you always pick up these little nuggets, no matter who's training you or coaching you. And he's one of these guys that just keeps getting better and better. Fingers crossed injury, that he can stay injury free. He's after a long year. So probably Jack will probably give him a few weeks off now again. But knowing David himself, he won't want too many weeks off, because he'll want to get back into it. He's Kerry captain this year, this year coming. Himself and Paddy will be just raring for road. And I suppose if you sit back and look at it, he's played a lot of football, but he's played a lot of football games, Aaron. Whereas, it'd be a different story if you were doing a lot of training and playing very little games. Whereas he's doing what every young fella wants to do, is play games. So his training schedule was probably light enough. But he's just, look, no matter what you say about him, everything has been said about him, and I think we will see, and touch wood that he stays injury free, one of the greatest GAA footballers that in our lifetime that we'll ever see, because he has everything on and off the field.
Yeah, and I suppose you mentioned there about his attitude. I suppose maybe everyone always talking about obviously his skills and abilities obviously on the pitch, and as you were saying there, one of the greatest Gaelic footballers of all time, and he's not even halfway through his playing time yet, which is kind of mental. But as you said there, even in his post-match interview, and his attitude very much sort of, when obviously there was a lot of needle in that game, a lot of red cards, and he was fairly roughened up throughout the majority of that game. But in the post-match interview, he had nothing but praise for the opposition, really. And he didn't fall into the trap maybe that I think people maybe wanted him to after a game like that.
Yeah, a very mature head and young shoulders. And like I said, off the field, he's just incredible as well. And it's just he's so assuming. He comes across that's the way he is. And I think he takes that onto the field as well. And like you said, I think the interview after the game yesterday summed them up completely. It kind of just went, look, it's the heated battle. He wasn't holding any grudges, and he hoped the opposition weren't holding any grudges. And that's David Clifford across the board. And I think, look, we're very fortunate that we're actually seeing this young fella and what he can do. And you could see from even all the Kerry games down here that he was playing, there wasn't hundreds of come to the game. There was thousands. The Munster campaign, when they got into the Munster campaign, when they went up to Limerick, they had the biggest gate I'd say they ever had, for the All Ireland semi-final above in Portlaoise. They said there was 3,500-4,000 people at the junior semi-final. And there was more people from Laois and different counties wearing different club tops than there was for supporting the two teams that were there. So that just shows that what a kind of a guy that the GAA have, that they can market him properly. They have some guy here.
100%, yeah, absolutely. He's a phenomenal talent, make no question about that. And obviously the final itself, I mean, was a fairly eventful game. I mean, he had 6 red cards in total, which I think might be a record for an All Ireland final. Obviously, both Cliffords getting sent off as well. Certainly a very intriguing game, very entertaining, I suppose, from a neutral perspective.
It was very entertaining because it was up and down the field. Compared to the second game, the intermediate, I suppose you could see the difference between junior level and intermediate level. The intermediate was more structured, a lot less of silly mistakes really. Whereas the junior football, they just kind of went at it, and there was a mistake, and next all of a sudden it got out the end of the field, and there was another mistake, and it was kind of that kind of a game. And yeah, but in fairness to the Tyrone boys, they never gave up. They kept going. But I just thought that maybe that probably tackle again with Paddy probably was the one that was their kind of the nail in the coffin from, because they lost another man, and I think they were just kind of coming back into it. Don't know would they have won the game, but they were still only 3 points in it. And I think when things like that happened, it kind of upsets the team, and it upset them a small bit. And look, the last few minutes, like David's probably tackle, any fellow would probably have done it. It was a second yellow card. He was stopping the play from going on the field. The time was up, so he was holding it back. Paddy's one, I suppose, he kind of came on and his speech about it, that he couldn't figure out why he was sent off. But I suppose if he could see the replay, he would probably know why he was sent off. All right. But look, it was a very entertaining game, and and just delighted for Fossa to get over the line, because there's a lot of very good guys in that Fossa club. They put a lot of work into it. They're probably one of the up and coming clubs in Kerry, and this is only going to push them on more.
Absolutely. And looking back at Kerry last year, then, as we were saying sort of at the top of the show there, obviously a very good season from a Kerry perspective. You obviously won that All-Ireland. I suppose it had been notably known really through the last couple of years about this sort of mini famine for Kerry. Obviously, like 8 years without an All-Ireland for a county like Kerry, which is such a tradition and history of winning All-Irelands. And you obviously broke the duck. You won the final against Galway. Obviously beat the Dubs in the semi-finals as well. So all in all, it doesn't get too much better than that as a Kerry supporter.
No, it doesn't. And I suppose, look, it started off with Jack coming back in, and everyone was wondering what way the year was going to go. But Jack set out his stall very early, and that was the McGrath Cup game against Limerick inside in Tralee. David Clifford played in that. We had a strong team played in that, because so Jack was showing that he meant business from the word go. Look, and I suppose, look, you need a bit of luck along the way as well, and we had that, Aaron. Realistically, to win an All-Ireland, look, Dubs had it for long enough above. That small little bit of luck, and I think we had that this year on our side. I thought I suppose the big game for us this year was beating Dublin in the semi-final, just to get that thing off our back. And the emotion after that, Shawnee Shea's kick, the whole build up. I was lucky enough that I was above at Radio Kerry at the time and with the commentary team, and we jumped around the place like 10-year-olds. But it just meant that much, because it was like you said, 8 years, and it was a bit of a monkey on the back. And I think that was a kick that we all kind of went a kind of a sigh of relief. And into the final, then look, Galway put up the Shane, you could say the Shane Wells show. Galway put up a fantastic battle. But I just thought myself that at half time, that if we could get going, we never got going in the first half, that if we could get going, that we'd pull ahead all right. And lucky enough we did. But like I said, to win an All-Ireland, you need a lot of things going for you, injuries and that little bit of luck. And I think we had that this year. So fingers crossed last year. So fingers crossed this year that we might have that little bit of luck. But back to back isn't very easy. Not easily done. Jack is starting out already this year. Now I see the two McGrath Cup teams that he put out, Cork and Clare. A lot of young guys, missing a lot of regulars, which is not no harm either. Because we have a lot of young footballers that a lot of people are talking about. And you throw them in there and see, can they offer you anything?
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose that was the thing with Kerry last year. He's obviously went very strong at the start of the McGrath Cup and at the start of the year. Where I suppose this year there seems to be a lot more rotation. Do you think that is maybe down to a lot of players having club commitments, Sigerson Cup commitments, obviously as well? Or do you think, as you said there, Jack O'Connor's probably looking at it and thinking there's a lot of footballers in Kerry, so if they're not going to get game time, the starting 15 is probably already set in many ways, so probably a great opportunity to blood some young players.
Exactly, and I think Jack will be looking at maybe if he can unearth one or two extra guys to fit into the squad for that was there last year. But yeah, look, it's a bit of both. He has to give guys rest. You know, like to David Moran after a long year. Hopefully he'll, and I think he probably will come back to us. Actually, we need him, Aaron, to be honest, around the middle of the field. You saw his performance against Kilmacud. Fantastic guy. But even to have him around the dressing rooms as well, a leader. You know, probably missing the two Cliffords now for maybe 3 to 4 weeks. The same with the Ratmore boys, Shane Ryan, Paul Murphy. I think Shane Ryan, they're saying, might have to go for a shoulder operation, so that might put him out a bit longer. But yeah, but look, Jack is shrewd. Jack is not going to make any mistakes. He's going to have a lot of guys. I think we'll be asking a lot more from the guys that were on the squad last year that didn't probably play a whole pile of minutes. You'll be talking the likes of Micheál Burns, Tony Brosnan, even Killian Spillane. You know, Killian never really nailed down a place from day one, but came on and made massive impacts. You know, so these are guys that he'll be looking at. Adrian Spillane. You know, we've a couple of guys that were probably training with Kerry last year that never got a run, that probably will get a lot of game time in the National League, like Dara Roach. You know, two guys that I have good time for, which you'll probably hear a lot of them this year in the league, would be Mike Breen. He's a Beaufort man. He was involved last year as well, but he with injury, and Dan O'Donoghue from Spa as well. Two good teak strong defenders. You know, so I think Jack will be looking at these guys. You know, Ronan Buckley, another guy that a name you'll probably come across from Listroy, midfield for East Kerry. You know, Stephen Ockenbar. You know, these are all guys that have been hanging around the Kerry squad with the last maybe 2 to 3 years. So I think Jack will be trying to push them on and trying to say, look, guys, you got to offer us a bit more this year, and you know, put your hands up for jerseys and put pressure on the guys that have the jerseys, because you know, you can't beat being a bit of competitiveness inside in training when you have these guys going well. You know, and when you have maybe 30 fellas going well, sure, that's all he bodes well for us. And we'll need every one of them this year. We'll definitely need every one of them this year, because if you can avoid injuries, that's, you know, and no team can avoid injuries really. We were lucky last year; our key players stayed injury free. The Shawnee Shades, the David Cliffords, and these guys, Paddy Clifford. But there's years that won't happen, so you need able guys to step up to the plate.
100%. Yeah, and obviously looking back at that win versus Dublin last year, as you were saying, obviously great for Kerry fans, not so great for us Dublin fans. But I suppose we've had plenty of good memories against Kerry down the years, and probably too many good memories. Our luck had maybe ran out ever so slightly, but obviously you had that Sean O'Shea point. Obviously he gets the first goal as well. David Clifford, I remember, was brilliant. Obviously Dublin came back into it with the Costello goal. Sean O'Shea missed the penalty as well. It was all sorts of craziness, as it normally is between Kerry and Dublin. And I mean, it was one hell of a spectacle in the end.
It was, and they're fantastic occasions. You know, it was one of my first league starts actually was against Dublin above in Parnell Park, and it's the whole razzmatazz that goes with Dublin. But we did have, like I said earlier, we did have a bit of pressure. You know, the Dubs had that little hoodoo over us, and we found it hard to break it. And I think that's why it meant so much to the Kerry supporters, you know, that we could finally get over the line. But look, I'm not writing Dublin off. No, you're gone nowhere. You're up there. You're still there, and I do think that you to win in Ireland this year, whoever will beat Dublin. Will to win in Ireland, you'll have to beat Dublin. I think that's the way it'll look. The way it'll end. Yeah, it's always a fantastic occasion, and we were delighted to come away, even though it was only a small margin. But yeah, we were happy enough coming down the road.
Yeah, Rory says here Dublin were robbed. I'm not exactly sure what he means there. I don't know. I can't really remember any bad decisions going our way, but certainly there's always cries from both sets of fans anyway about decisions and everything else.
Yeah, the Rory will surely give us that one. We could think a couple of years we were robbed too.
yeah, fair. But obviously that Sean O'Shea point. I mean, when he steps up to take it from 55 yards, I mean, when he's putting it down, did you have any doubts at all, or did you think like a player of his ability will be able to put it over? Because it obviously was a huge pressure kick, and I remember at the time, you know, some supporters even saying maybe you should have tried to work it in field or something like that. But obviously it went over anyways. But like, what were your thoughts? Sort of as he was lining up for
realistically,
that.
we thought it was Shane Ryan coming up to kick it because it was so far out. We said this is Shane Ryan's going to kick this, and you could see him beckoning Shane back to the goals, but Shawnee put it down. But look, Shawnee down here, it doesn't surprise us that went over the bar, and it went over the bar with such power and such distance as well, that he had another maybe 10 or 20 yards in it, because this is a guy that's doing it down here for his club since he was 12 years of age, and another guy that's a dream to watch in any game. And I'd say a fantastic guy to be inside the dressing room, to be over, because he will carry a team. They're young leaders, just like Dublin had for years with all the guys that they had. And I think every dressing room needs these guys. There's no point having 3 or 4 young fellas inside the corner and their head down and saying that. But these are real leaders that we have in our dressing rooms now, and they step up, and like big players step up to the mark in big moments. And Shawnee did that, and that was a big moment. But I suppose in the other hand, it was a kind of a kick that it was a kick. Whether if it went over, great, but if it went wide, it wasn't going to be the end of the world. It was probably going to extra time. Yeah. But definitely the Kerry, and I think Jack came out after that. We didn't want extra time. Our legs, you could see our legs. We were in trouble. We weren't going to hold on for extra time. So it was, the gods were with us, and look, I think that kick is one that's going to go down in history. No more like Cluxton's one in the final as well that time. There'll be kicks that will live, especially in the Kerry minds and the Dublin minds, for years, and we'll have the crack about it and we'll have the fun. And I think that's great too.
Yeah, and obviously the final as well then against Galway. I mean, it was a close game, and maybe closer than what some people maybe would have expected. I think a lot of people at Kerry as big favourites, but it obviously went back and forth. And maybe that's kind of the big difference with Kerry last year, was the fact that I don't think anyone was doubting the talent of the likes of Clifford, Sean O'Shea, the midfield, the backs, and Tom O'Sullivan and everything else. But maybe it was just when the going gets tough against good sides, that was where the question marks were over Kerry. But I think you proved last year, through coming through Dublin, after Dublin had sort of turned it around, and then against Galway, when it was really sort of going back and forth going into the final 10 minutes, that you came through that. It showed really that this Kerry side do have the bottle and do have the steel.
Yeah, we showed last year, and it was nice to see that we were winning close games. For years we weren't winning close games, and and like I said, at halftime of that game, and even above the press box, and we talking to guys, but we always felt, especially the Kerry guys, we always felt that look, even though we're not playing well, we could still drive this on. And but that goes back to a lot of hurt as well. A lot of these guys that are, even though they're young guys, they had lost big games the year before against Tyrone in the semi-final in extra time. There was the David Mournes and these guys that they've lost a lot of games down through the years. So you're building a bank of pain, and you're building a bank of experience, and I think that all that comes out in on a big occasion. And I think we were very cool, and I suppose our sideline as well, and I suppose there's a good management team there as well. Like, you have Michal Quirk, who's a very astute guy and a basketball brain. He'd be very quick thinking kind of a guy. Diarmuid Murphy, one of our legendary goalkeepers, very solid guy on the sideline as well. And then obviously Paddy Talley coming in was a huge addition. Like, Paddy brought that little bit of steel to us that we needed. For years we were on about teams running down through the middle of us, and Tyrone especially, even after the semi-final, they were all saying Tyrone straight down to the middle. We stopped that, and I think and great credit. And look, people say, we shouldn't be crediting the Tyrone men like that, but he did. He was a huge addition to Kerry last year, and he brought a little bit of steel to us and a bit of organisation. We had a lot of guys that could do a job, but we just had guys that, to me, it felt like, Aaron, that all our backs wanted to charge up the field and wanted to create a score or kick a score. No one wanted to stay at home and mind the house like Seamus Moynihan used to, or the great Mike McCarthy's and the Tom Sullivans and these fellas. But this last year, we had, like, Jason Foley stayed, and not only that, which was a huge addition, was Tyg Morley held in front of him. And I think that was the big key for us winning the All-Ireland last year, were those two guys. That Tyg held the middle, like Kieran O'Sullivan that time. When he just closed down the middle, stop guys coming down. Not to be pulled out of position, for silly things. He was holding the whole time, and like that, he obviously, with the likes of Tom Sullivan, then Graham O'Sullivan and these guys, doing their jobs, it made it very easy, and the work rate. But like I said, Paddy Tally made a massive difference. The work rate, fitness, but like that started in January against Limerick inside. You could see they were building something in the McGrath Cup, and they went on to the Clare game, and they went on to winning the McGrath Cup and then the National League. You could see through the National League it'd be very interesting to see the teams that played. Like a lot of those guys played a lot of the McGrath Cup, a lot of the National League games, and the All Ireland campaign. There weren't many changes, so Jack went out from the word go. We wanted to win everything on the way through.
Yeah, like, and as you said there with Paddy Tally, I mean, yeah, like what he brought to Kerry, like you could really see the tightness and the Kerry defence. And I think throughout the league and championship, I think maybe only one goal conceded from play, I think it was, which was the Costello goal. So I mean, that really goes to show the work that had been put into Kerry defensively, because I think a lot of people, the other big criticism of Kerry sort of leading into last year, as you said, was the defence after the Tyrone defeat, and even going as far back to when you lost to Cork in 2020 as well. So you could really see the work and the groundwork that he put into that Kerry defence.
Yeah, it got to stage on down here, and I suppose, look, the people say that Kerry are like the Brazil of soccer. But our defenders wanted to be forwards as well, and you can't do that. Like you have to have a defence. You're going to win nothing, and you have to have a defence. And I think that's what they nailed down from the word go. They were well organised. They had a plan. They got no Kerry. We got bodies back. Our half forward line. We had bodies back, but we broke with organisation. Then when we broke, everyone knew what they were doing. And it was very well organised. Very well done by the management. But this year now, back to back. Teams out there know what Kerry bring to the table. It'll be very interesting to see what way the players react and what way the management react. And I'm really looking forward to the first game above Donegal, just to see what some of our new guys can do. That's what I said after on the radio last week against Clare. The result didn't matter really for me, but it was just to see the players out there, to see guys that they can offer you something. This guy can offer you something. And I think that's what the Kerry management will be looking at these guys inside in training and at these games to say, oh yeah, this guy can do a job for us. This guy can do a job for us. And I think that's the main thing with these McGrath Cups. And I know there's a lot of hassle about the Dorburn Cup and stuff like that. It's always good to have a couple of games too before the National League starts. And I think it's going to be a helter-skelter kind of a National League, I'd say.
Yeah, Kieran says here, Kerry have a lot of competition for starting places, and this is very important if you want to win back-to-back titles. And do you think that'll be the approach in the league? Maybe sort of rotate the team quite a bit, try different players out, or could Kerry maybe gradually sort of put their strongest starting 15 sort of the more the league goes on, or how do you think they'll approach the league?
Yeah, look, I think the first game or two, he'll have to have a kind of a new kind of a team, because with injuries, with giving guys rest, he is going to be missing half his team, but like I said, the guys that are there, that are going to come in to fill them spots are guys that are there with the last 2 or 3 years. They're not guys that are pulled in out of the blue. These guys have been around the panel. A lot of them have All Ireland medals. So these guys will have to step in now. Like I said, I mentioned before, the Killian Spillans, the Tony Brosnans, the Micheál Burns, Adrian Spillane, Killian Spillane, the guy there called Darragh Roach. All these guys are around with a couple of years. So they'll have to hold their hand up now and say, look, yeah, I'm going to put my name down for a jersey here. And I think they will, because there is a lot of good footballing stock there. And I think going forward, for us to win back to back, and I think your message, your listener there is A1. You need a strong, like Dublin proved it for years. It was the squad. It was the four or five guys that were coming on in every game were making a massive difference. And I think we had that too probably last year when Killian was coming off the bench, and stuff like that. It was just you weren't weakening your team at all. You were actually keeping it the same, if not making it stronger. And I think that's going to be a big thing for Jack. And I think that's what he's going to be doing. He's going to be trying to unearth 1 or 2 players, but it'll all come down to then your first 1 or 2 results. If Kerry are beating their first 2 games, you're going away to Mayo in February, and you're probably looking at maybe the Cliffords and these fellas to come back in, because we don't, like, Kerry won't want to go down, Jack won't want to go down to Division 2. And look, if you look at it, every year Kerry has won the Sam Maguire, we've had a very good National League, if not have won the National League. So I do think the National League is a very good barometer for inter-county teams, and if you can build a bit of momentum going into the championship and a bit of confidence, it means a lot for a squad. But yeah, I definitely think that Jack will definitely have maybe 3 or 4 new players, fighting for places up against the regulars that we had last year.
Yeah, because I suppose when you look at the great Kerry sides in the mid 2000s, or even Dublin's 6 in a row All Ireland winning side, like those teams always introduced new players year on year. From the under 20s and maybe from some standout players at club level. So like it is a key ingredient for Kerry to introduce new players. And as you said, with a lot of players maybe missing at the start of the league, it does present a great opportunity for some of those players to put their hands up for Jack O'Connor and make a claim to get into the starting team.
It does, and the way the inter-county setup has gone, and it's probably the same in every other county, but down here we nearly have 3 tiers. You have your regulars, and then you have the guys that were kind of on the bench and fighting for position, and then you have the next tier, which is the new guys coming in. So you could call them maybe a 2024 project, but they'll be training with the Kerry team, and they'll be doing, and these guys, like you have guys there like Rory Murphy, Barry O'Mahony, all new guys that are after coming in now with Jack this year. James McCarthy, probably 1 or 2 of the Rathmore boys will probably come in as well. You have Brian Friel, you have the Ryan brothers, you have these guys that probably Jack will bring in, and they'll be put on programs, and he's probably looking at them, say, as a 2024 project. But the 2023 project guys now need to be stepping up to the plate and putting pressure on the second tier guys. And I think that's the way the inter-county setup has gone. It's just unreal. You very rarely, and you'd want to be a David Clifford or a Shawnee Shea type player, that you come out of under 20 or even minor and go straight into a senior squad. That doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. Like in terms of the league itself, like as you said there, like from a Kerry perspective, like is there like there probably isn't much pressure now on Kerry in terms of winning the league or anything of that nature, given the fact that they obviously won the All Ireland now. But like, is there much expectation there to retain the league title, or is it just kind of see kind
there,
of?
There's always pressure.
There's always expectation. Yeah.
Like we had a bad result against Cork there, was it 2 weeks ago, and you would swear like we were after losing in a Munster final against them.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll always have pressure down here, and I suppose that's what drives us all on. And I think, look, Jack knows that, but I think Jack's a different character this year and last year and this year. Jack is well experienced now, and he doesn't take things to heart, and he knows at the end of the day the big one is above in July, and bring home Sam. But but to get like that, we're at the bottom of the mountain now. There's a long way to go to get to the top of that mountain. There's a lot of obstacles. Like I said, you need a bit of luck. There's a lot of teams out there who are at the bottom of the mountain who are thinking the same way that we're thinking. Yeah, we can win Sam too. And when you have a lot of teams putting in a lot of effort like that, and a lot of good footballers around the county, we're on about David Cliffords and these guys and all these. But there's probably a David Clifford. Well, not as good as David, but there's a David Clifford in every county. So that they really look to. So I think everyone will be trying to make their own plan. And look, that's what adds to the whole excitement and the enjoyment of the whole thing. But yeah, look, like I said, there is always pressure down here. The minute either you put on a Kerry jersey or you're involved in the management of a Kerry team, it's no more like Dublin or a lot of teams. The expectation is high down here, and it always is.
%100%. Yeah, like and yeah, obviously looking at the championship season, then obviously when that rolls around, as you said, there's always pressure, and obviously if there's pressure in the league, then there's going to be pressure in the championship as well. And obviously having delivered that All Ireland last year, ending that 8-year drought, like I think the big question really was after Kerry did go and win the All Ireland last year, and you look at the age profile of David Clifford, Paudie Clifford, Sean O'Shea, like there is a bit of a sort of thought process among some GAA fans, Kerry fans, neutrals, that this Kerry side maybe does have the potential to go on and dominate and win multiple All-Irelands. Obviously, it's easier said than done, and you have your Dublins, your Armaghs who are all building. But what are your thoughts on that? Could Kerry maybe be in line for a bit of a dominant spell?
Well, obviously you'd be hoping for it, but I think it's a lot harder now than what it was before. To win 2 and 3 in a row. I think like Dublin proved that with the team they had. They were just awesome. But teams now, I think they're really after coming back into there's 3 or 4 teams now who are kind of in the pack together, and it's only something very small that can separate them. And that's why they're all going for these little inches and these little these experts and these sports psychologists and all this kind of stuff, because there is very little between Dublin, between Kerry, between the Mayos, the Galways, the Armaghs, the Tyrones. Roscommon, then maybe Monaghan, Donegal. Are they that little leg below? But there's 3 or 4 teams there that you would fear, in meeting in a big game, that you wouldn't go in very confident against them. You go in confident, but you wouldn't go very confident, because on the day anything can happen, because they're very good footballers. So yeah, it's going to be a very competitive competition, Sam, this year, because I think Dublin are hurting. I think us beating E last year probably put a little bit of a bit of fire underneath you. So I think there'll be a couple of points to prove there as well with Dublin next year. Galway now realise that they have a team that can rattle it and go for Sam. Mayo, after coming in with a fantastic management team, I heard there's a lot of building going on up there, that they're very confident in what they're doing. So Armagh, with our own Kieran Donaghy up there, wasn't too far away last year. So it's it's getting harder and harder now to win it every year. And putting it back to back, I think if we get back to back this year, it'll be a huge achievement. But I can honestly see no one doing what Dublin have done. Going for 5 and 6 and 7 in a row. That I don't think we'll see that in our lifetime again, Aaron, because the pack is too close now, and it's getting harder. Like I said, it's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, because usually when teams do start going back to back, I mean, you've seen with that Dublin side that did win 6 in a row. I mean, they obviously won one in 2011, couldn't follow it up the next year, won in 2013, couldn't follow it up the next year, and then went on to dominate. So it's actually quite rare. And even you look at the Limerick Hurlers, for example, who won an All Ireland, then had to lose one before they could win one back. So like with Kerry, maybe that could be a case of they might have to lose a few before they win a few, and before they then kick on and maybe start to dominate.
Yeah, I think, look, and there's a lot of people down here have the questions, how many All-Irelands is Sean Shea and David Clifford's going to win? I do think they're going to win a good few All-Irelands, but it's going to be spread out over years. They're not going to win 3 and 4 All-Irelands together. I'd love to see it happening, but like I said, at the way football has gone now, it's going to be very hard. And but look, fingers crossed. As a Kerry man, you would love to see it happen. But I just think that the way the strength and conditioning, the way everything has gone, the professionalism, you'd want to be very lucky to get a bunch of guys that can hang around for 6 and 7 years and give that commitment, and without injury to your main players, that you can go on and put back to back like that. So whereas I'd be more hopeful than confident.
Yeah, Jack says here, Kerry slight favourites. Dublin have the boys back, but doesn't mean Dubs will automatically win it. I presume he means they're Kerry's strong team, etc. But it's Kerry, Dublin, Tyrone, and the rest. So yeah, and obviously when the news where it was announced with Dublin bringing back Jack McCaffrey and Paul Mannion, and obviously Pat Gilroy's even coming back into the management team, like how was that kind of received in Kerry amongst Kerry supporters? Was it almost like, they're really pulling the wool out of the hat here to try and make all the stops possible to try win Sam back? But what was the reaction like in the kingdom when that happened?
Yeah, I suppose, look, a lot of the reaction was, oh God, are we after poking the bear here? are we really going to, like I said, are we after lighting a fire under Dublin, and they're really going to come out all guns blazing? And I suppose, look, the National League last year didn't go well for Desi and the lads, so going down to Division 2, probably it was that little bit a bit of a kick in the arse as well. So they probably had to go and do it and get something to revive their season this year. And I think by bringing these guys in, look, they're All-Ireland, multiple All-Ireland winners. They can only benefit a dressing room. But then on the other hand, you're listening to guys, Asher, they're old fellas and they're this and they're that. But look, the older guys we see down through the years, they're the guys in the last 4 or 5 minutes that will always make the right decision and will always make the right call. So they're going to be huge for Dublin. And I think that's why, like I said earlier at the start of our show, Aaron, I think whoever is going to beat Dublin is going to win the All-Ireland.
Yeah, like, and I think it's even with the way the All-Ireland is laid out as well. I think it's possible that Dublin and Kerry play each other in an All-Ireland final, because I think it might be Leinster versus Connacht and Ulster versus Munster, I think, in the semi-finals or something of that nature. I know Leinster and Munster aren't supposed to play each other in the semi-finals.
It'll be a final, I think, before we can meet each other. So, and look, we I suppose we were fortunate, like, with a bit of luck last year, that Con was missing. Like, Con was a massive loss to Dublin last year. Like, what way could that game have gone? And I suppose, look, that's the little bit of luck that I said at the start that you need. Not wishing anyone injuries or anything like that, but that teams might be that slight bit weaker when you play them and stuff. And I think we had that little bit of luck last year. And and I don't know how can we go 2 years in a row with that luck? But we'll see it. We'll try anyway.
100%. And even looking at Kerry starting 15 as well, like, obviously that won the All-Ireland last year. Like, could there be many changes sort of later in the year? Do you think Jack probably will, like, when he has all his men fit and available, do you think he will more or less go with the same starting 15, or do you think there's other players there who might maybe possibly come in?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of guys there that will probably be pushing for places. Look, midfield, and it's been spoken about down here in Kerry for a long time. We know we have a bit of an issue midfield. Look, we're still going to be relying on David Moran, but David has, like I said, has proved it even 2 weeks ago how colossal he is. And I was even talking to a goalkeeper not too long ago, and he was telling me, like, when he was kicking the ball out, when you look out the field, he's the one guy you can see out there. He has a presence compared to every other midfielder. And look, we'll be hoping for big seasons from Diarmuid O'Connor, and I know Diarmuid kind of picked up an injury last week, so I know he missed maybe the first league game. I hope not. Picked up an ankle injury, so that might put him out for 4, 5, 6 weeks. Jack Barry around the middle of the field. We have able guys around there. Adrian Spillane, this new guy now, this Ronan Buckley from Listry. I would like to see him thrown in there for a couple of league games as well, just to see, like, he's not the tallest player in the world, but by God, he's a big heart, and he's a massive engine. So and then you have guys like, say, Dara Moynihan, who probably with injury last year, like Killian Spillane will be pushing for a place this year. Like, I think Killian will be a guy that won't like to be, being brought on in these big games. He'd like to start. Tony Braston as well, Dr. Crokes forward as well. These be all pushing places. They'll be pushing the Paul Gainey's. They'll be pushing, the Paddy Cliffords even for positions. And you need healthy competition like that. And even if they are pushing them, if they don't start, if you have guys at that caliber coming in after, like I said about Dublin for years, bringing on McManaman and these guys, you need to have a big impact off the bench. So you need all these guys. Even like 15 fellas can only start, but we need another at least 7 or 8 fellas really pushing and holding their hands up and saying, look, yeah, I can do something and for Kerry here. And like I said, that's going to be Jack's National League. I'd say portfolio is to poke out them 3 or 4 players that in the heat of battle and championship that they can step up to the plate.
Yeah, like, I think that's a big strength with Kerry specifically, maybe over other counties, because you do have so much depth in your team in terms of forwards, midfielders, backs. Like, I even remember seeing Paul O'Shea and Paul Walsh at, minor and under 20 level, and seeing them break through. And most counties, those players would go into the senior team after a couple of years or beyond the fringes. But as you said, like, the quality in the county, is there to see, and plenty of squad depth, which is great for a man like Jack O'Connor.
Yeah, and Aaron, when you sit back and for years we sat back and we look at the panel and we look at the guys that are in training with Kerry, and we'll say, this guy shouldn't be here, that guy shouldn't be there, this guy should be in there. What Jack has is probably what's the best in the county. Like I said, you have the 3 tiers. If there's a good footballer out there, he's in, and if he's a young guy, he's in tier 3. That kind of a way. And then it's just you work your way up. You put in the hours and you put in the effort, And I think that's going to be a big thing for youngsters, that am I going to, if I'm a young guy now and I'm training with Kerry, even though I'm training with Kerry for 12 months, I won't get a game. Will I give the commitment? And I think that's where we have lost players like that down here, and lost very good players like that, because commitment wise they're not willing to sit in the bench or sit with a tracksuit up in the stand for 12 months. Like a lot of young fellas now think I should be on straight away, but that doesn't work down here. You gotta earn your stripes. If you're good enough, you will move up the lines quicker, but unfortunately you'll step into the tier 3 bracket first, and you'll work your way up. And Jack is, and I think Peter Keane was probably very good at that as well. He had a lot of guys in there that were inside training, and he was looking at different years of different projects for different fellas, that this fella will come good in this year and this fella, and I think Jack has carried that on, and it's kind of it's a good working thing, and it's working well for Kerry, because it's into county football now, is especially down here in Kerry, because we have so much expectation, a lot of pressure. It's you need a bit of experience, and you need a bit of maybe one or two years sitting on the bench and seeing what this is all about.
Yeah, Kieran says here it's Dublin, Kerry, or whoever comes out of Ulster. And I suppose that's a good point as well, because obviously yourselves in Kerry have had a fair few battles with teams from Ulster down the years, whether it be Tyrone or anyone else. So I suppose you certainly can't discount the whoever does come out of Ulster in the qualifiers as well.
Definitely not. Yeah. You're looking at even Donegal. I know Michael Murphy will be a huge loss to Donegal, but like I'm sure they will push it up to many team as well this year. So yeah, Ulster's always a minefield. Even watching the Ulster football is just you'll be scratching your head at times and saying, "Geez, I wouldn't like to be playing them." But yeah, like I said, Armagh, Tyrone, very very well organised. They come out, and when they hit you, you know about it. So yeah, I wouldn't like all your listeners there now and everyone they've mentioned. It's probably looking like Kerry in Dublin, and who will ever come out of Ulster, will. But then the guys in the back door, I wouldn't like to be facing them. You wouldn't like to be going up playing in a quarter final. You saw Armagh last year. They were a decent side. So it's going to be it'll be a minefield. It will be a minefield. You'll be looking at players like that. But the only thing about it that when we look at it is that at least you're going playing them in Donegal or in Croke Park. So I wouldn't like to be heading up to a northern ground to be playing these guys in a knockout game.
Yeah, interesting question actually here from Gavin, who says, "Would the group stages, obviously referring to the new structure, benefit or harm Kerry? Because on the one hand, last year if they won the Munster, they're in the quarter final, but this year they could have competitive games before a final." So, like, what are your thoughts on that? Obviously, like with the new championship structure, there's all sorts of, I suppose, opinions on it. But I suppose from a Kerry perspective, more game time, which is a good thing, but at the same time, less competitive games maybe isn't so good. But what's your opinions on it?
No, competitive games all the way. Yeah, and I think our biggest downfall down here in Munster with the last 3 years, and look, they're getting better, is the demise of Cork. It was no good to us. For years we were going up playing Cork, and the hair be standing in the back of your neck when you ran out to the field, or when you were up the stand, watching the boys come out. But like I went up last year up to Partney Ring, and the game was over and we won. I think we won by 12 points. And to come out and talking to Cork people after, and they were happy that it was only 12 points. You were beat by 12 points, and they were happy because they thought to be more. Like, that's no good to Kerry. You need to have competitive games, and I think the league, and that's why the league has been very good to Kerry down with the last couple of years. We have very very competitive games away, at home and away, and it builds character, and it just shows you that we can go out and we can do this. But so yeah, I think competitive games all the way, and I think the Kerry boys would love competitive games. And that's getting back to David Clifford's point there, that people saying about games and training. Players want games. You don't want a ratio of maybe 10 training sessions to one game. No, players want games, and I think that's no matter who, and the bigger the game, the better. Especially at that level, the bigger the game, the better. And I think the new setup will be very interesting, and really looking forward to it, because, like I said, there'll be a lot of landmines along the way, and very competitive games.
Yeah, because I think here in Dublin, like we've kind of had a similar problem down the years as well, like where you you come through Meath, and I remember even a couple of years ago when we beat them by 6 points, and I think the Meath supporters were happier than the Dublin supporters coming out of Croke Park. So it's kind of, it is with the provincials. I think it's great in Ulster and Connacht, and obviously I think it would be great to see Cork be competitive in Munster, and Meath and Kildare sort of close the gap in Leinster or anyone else. But like, hopefully that is the one big positive with the group stage, is that you do have competitive games, and hopefully anyway, maybe some more thrills and spills and shocks along the way.
Yeah, look, we all want excitement. We all want good football. We all want to go up and see all these great footballers from all other counties as well. No one wants to go to a game where you're going to be winning it by 10 and 15 points. No, we all want to be that's why I said the National League in the last couple of years was a great barometer for teams to where you stood, because they were like, we went up to Armagh last year and the atmosphere up there was incredible. And David Clifford wasn't supposed to start in that game. This is David Clifford wasn't even on the thing. Next, all of a sudden, it just felt like that Jack O'Connor kind of realised, wow, this is a big occasion, and there was a bit of needle there. Next thing, all of a sudden, David Clifford was togged out, and he went on and he probably won the game for us. So these are all games that the supporters will be looking forward to as well. So it wouldn't be great for any team to be going out and playing probably the top 4 or 5 teams, in games throughout the year instead of weaker teams. And what? It's no good for the weaker teams either. And that goes back to the debate of the Tailteann Cup and all this kind of stuff. You need to be competitive, and to keep young fellas playing football, there has to be an aim, and there has to be an ambition to win something. Like, I was talking with the Low goalkeeper years ago. We were doing a Sigerson game above, and we stopped off in Dundalk actually to see the fantastic facilities they had up there. And he was telling me that it was great. He said the National League, they loved the National League, but when the Leinster Championship started, he said the training kind of, there was no bite there. There was no ambition, because they knew they weren't going to beat the Dubs. So that's why I'd be in big favour of the different groups. And look, not everyone's going to win Sam Maguire. Let's be realistic. Like, it's like not everyone's going to win the Premier League. If you're going to be playing, so it's just it's something that kind of that sits heavily with me anyway. That you have to get to a stage where you can be competitive at your level, and then have a go at winning something. Whereas there's some counties out there, and realistically, like you're going to start losing players because there's nothing for them to pay for.
Yeah, 100%. Well, look, listen, Liam, very much appreciate you jumping on, anyways, and
No bother.
sure, yeah, best of luck, obviously, for the year ahead. And who knows, if all goes to plan, maybe I'll catch up with you for a potential All Ireland final if it goes to plan.
Yeah, sure, we might do that above in Coppers, will we?
yeah. Who knows? Been there many a time.